So for this 10th segment, we are going to be putting two dividers, a nice looking door up front, just because that's cosmetics, and it'll give us a chance to practice doors, and some kind of divider. I was thinking a separate door, so this one would open this way, and this one would open that way. Right now I'm just kind of thinking a panel that's semi-removable. And the reason being is there is a lot of space right there. And the router itself is sitting here. So if I can reduce the volume of air in there, maybe I can increase the flow of air to improve dust collecting. You know, having said that, in my project, I'm not going to be adding dust collector down below right now, for the simple reason that earlier segment, I was so impressed with the suction I was getting from the top one. If a little bit of dust does come down there from the example I saw, you know, every month or so I would clean that up, or maybe at the end of a project I could vacuum that out. If it becomes a problem, I can always add a outlet right there and a dust collector out back. And between the last segment and this segment, I didn't like that white panel. I thought it was kind of ugly for no other reason. I swapped it out with a piece of MDF that I put through my drum sander to thin it down so it was somewhat flush right here. And I also glued on two strips right there in plane with all those four braces to give it it sits pretty firmly right now. And that's about all I'm going to do. I'll leave that loose in case I upgrade it in the future. Now the other advantage of dividing this up is it'll give me a place to store stuff. Wrenches could hang right there, or that's about the right size for a trim router. So today, let's work on two segments, two doors, and really the first one, we're just going to make a panel that's going to sit in there. Really simple. Well, that was pretty simple. Nice air dam, just a little quick thing held with magnets. Next thing I want to do is put a door on it. But I want to keep this kind of each level, recessing it a little bit farther back. So I want to recess it in a little bit. But if you do that one and you attach a door to the stretcher, it can only open to 90 degrees. And invariably, it's eventually going to get broken off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install two little sidebars right here that will attach a hinge to the door. So it's going to cut down a little bit of what's opening up in here, but that's kind of how doors are. And if you do that one, I should be able to recess it back a little bit and then have it open up to almost 180 degrees. You just have to be careful not to go too far, otherwise they'll just bust the hinge on it. So next step is to just measure here, and I'll use that same ruler with blue tape trick, glue those up overnight. I can't go as quickly as I did these. These stretchers on the back, I just held them for a minute. The initial tackiness held the glue. That was good enough for them. These they've got to be strong, so they're going to be fairly thick and have a lot of glue adhesion, and I want that to dry overnight. So first step up, attach some side cleats. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how much time you spent, getting all your joints dead perfect, making these layers, making sure the internal structure is completely smooth, figuring out the design, all the layouts and stuff like that. All your non-woodworking friends or the casual woodworkers or people just looking in the background of your video, all they're really going to notice is the superficial stuff. A door is going to be front and center for this kind of project. And yeah, you could just do another panel like that. A lot of pocket hole screwed things do that same exact thing. In fact, that's exactly what Norm Abram did in his first version. But we want something a little bit more special. And we put so much effort into it, why not show off a little bit? So I'm going to be using the same exact techniques I used to build all these things. I'm not going to introduce anything new, but let's play. I've got a few pieces of that miniature shiplap stuff. I've got a very nice piece of vertical grain. It's slightly off, but I will straighten that out. And my sister is into fused glass, and she made me this little piece of glass for Christmas one year. This piece has a little bit of an arts and craft kind of theme to it, so I think a little glass panel door to hide my trim routers might be kind of appropriate and a little attention grabber. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to incorporate this as a panel just like I did here, but it's got some variations in thickness I'm going to have to compensate for. So my whole point is, this is kind of the last focal piece. Have fun with it. Experiment. Worst case scenario, you totally trash it. You wasted an evening of your work week. Build another one the next night. Just try it out. Have fun. First up for me, I got to dimension up this board. Okay, so here's something I did not do previously. I'm putting tapers on the sides of the doors. It'll kind of mimic the taper I put on the legs. Now, to get the alignment of the tapers, I don't want to do a lot of math or geometry. So what I've done is I put all the pieces in the area that they are going to be in the jig, and then I can put these side pieces which have that taper on them in their spot, just knife out the angles I need. No math, no geometry, no nothing. Once again, it's relative measurement, relative to the piece. And because I'll be cutting these by hand, I don't have to worry about figuring out degrees or angles or anything like that on my table saw. Okay, so I've looked everywhere and I'm about to do this glue up of this little, miniature door. Same technique so we did everywhere else. I did screw up one thing and I did not get the groove in the center. Y'all probably saw that in the video, but it was consistent all the way through, so it'll all work out. It doesn't really matter as long as it's consistent. The one problem I'm having is the glass I have is not a true square. I mean, it's fused glass. It just melts. And I've looked everywhere, but they make a product called Magic Balls, and they're just these little rubber balls. A lot of times they will put them in floating panels around the edges, and it kind of acts like a bumper or something like that, so doors won't rattle or anything like that. And I typically will use them in cases like this. I just can't find them. So I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try and put some wood shims in to balance out the glass, and maybe it won't rattle as much. But it's a little bit loose this way for this design. We'll see. So when I glue up something like this, I should make sure it's flush on top and flush on bottom. I will square it up with a square. Then I will just clamp it and let it sit overnight. Now, straight from the glue up, the door fits just fine, but it's a little bit tight. I mean, you can see right there. And I actually want this to be a pretty loose fitting door because I am not in a shop that has HVAC, so the humidity swings here in Texas are extreme. So I'm going to go ahead and plane this down so this fits really, really loosely. And then I've got some hinges. But they aren't really the right kind for this size of door. I'm going to go ahead and install this, but I'm not going to show y'all because it's not the right type. It needs a little bit bigger hinge. It's just we're in the quarantine right now, so it seems kind of stupid to leave to just go buy a set of hinges. But to finish this project, I'm going to go ahead and install that, and I will put a little bit of a catch to lock it down. Now, one quick thing, I did find that after I put these side pieces in, I could no longer twist this door to get it out. So what I ended up doing is cutting the top off so it's level with this, so it will just come right out. So there we go. Just a little decorative door, cheapo hinges. I'm probably going to redo the hinges as soon as I can buy some nicer ones, so I didn't stress too much about them and getting ultimate alignment done. Created a little tiny door handle and a catch that won't interfere with pulling out that little sled. And it's kind of just a little bling to dress up an otherwise construction lumber router table. Well, come back for the next episode as we are going to build the outfeed portion of our table saw that's going to fit on top of this.